You are now listening to the Molten Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Molten Fantasy Sport Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Kennedy, and I'm sitting here in a bit of a different setting. I must admit, it's the end of the day for me, and I've brought the gear with me to the office. Respect to Tennis Australia, Tennis West. I have talked about how I have a tennis background, much mixed in with an amateur footy playing career, coaching women's waffle football as well as amateur football as well. But, yep, I'm in the tennis offices today, and I'm sitting here alongside my co-host, Mickie Dell. How are you, my friend?
Robbie, how are you? And to our viewers, I am the big horse. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Here I am in sunny Bendigo. While it's not Tennis West in Perth, it is still beautiful down here. How are you getting on, mate?
Mate, I'm good. It's been a full-on day, but this is what this week is looking like. It's round one week. So we are bringing content wherever we must bring content from. So that is why we're in a bit of a different setting. So anybody who's watching us along on YouTube, welcome. If this is your first time, probably a really great episode to join in on. For any of our other followers and those listening along on our podcast, welcome along as well. We are going to do a rookie review before round one. Whew. Few R's mixed in there. I'm glad I got that out quite well. I have been practicing all afternoon. But yeah, rookie review. I think a lot of people, and I'm kind of throwing it out to you, we're going to talk about some rookie themselves, as in first-year players, but also there's a lot of rookie-priced players mixed in this year as well, based on players that might have been injured or didn't play last season, all those types of things. So we're going to go over them, review them, tell you what we know about them, and then obviously we need to sit back a little bit and see if they get picked. What's your thoughts this year on rookies, mate? Are you going to try and fill your team with rookies who are definitely all playing in round one, or where's your mindset at?
So I've fallen into that trap in the past where you look to which rookies are picked and you make sure they're in your side because you believe that, you know, they're picked round one, they're almost certain to be playing until, you know, they get injured or whatever else during the year. So we'll bring up Molten Roberts, for example. Many years ago, I had him in my forward line, and I believe he's still the only Supercoach player in history to average in the negatives. So when we're talking about that, Molten Roberts, Swan Hill, Mildura lad, g'day if you're listening, mate. But when you're talking about that, it's not necessarily just any rookie that's playing round one you've got to have in your side. You've got to have an outlook for the whole season and how a team's structuring up. So that's what Rob and I are going to bring to you this evening.
Yeah, remembering this isn't fantasy, this is Supercoach as well, so very much on around the prices don't change until their third game and those types of things. It's not fantasy where those players score every single time they go out on the field. So really important that we touch on that, and as we'll push through. Now, one thing that we have talked about is I never steal or claim anybody's work as mine. So I'd love to give a shout out on Twitter to @It'sARainMan. If you're not following him, go and follow him. The guy puts out some fantastic content. He loves to just throw out a bit of comments here and there as well. But he came up with a concept, which I really liked, and it wasn't one that I have thought about, is he's built a full team of rookies and then saying to everybody, well, once you start having question marks on them, once you're a bit unsure about them or the ones that you feel more confident in, start getting rid of them. And then all of a sudden you can start you build your team around them who you're feeling good about, rather than a lot of up and downwards movement just based on prices. So I'm going to, one, give him that shout out, and two, we're going to work off that sort of base that he's gone with, discuss what we know about them, and then add in any players that he may have missed that we think everybody should know about heading into round one.
Yeah,
this Thursday. Unbelievable.
It's only, 3 sleeps?
Mate, for me, it's one because I don't think I'll be sleeping between now and then. So I'm getting very excited, and I think I keep looking at my Supercoach team too much. But look, let's dive in. We don't want to take too much of everybody's time with this, and I really enjoyed those top 10s rapid-fire episodes that we had. And if you haven't listened to them, I urge you. They're all under 20 minutes. Top 10 ranked must-have, top 10 must-avoids, and then we had our top 10 sleepers. So make sure you go back and have a listen to those. So, mate, we'll start with our defenders. We'll go quickly through them. So his first defender that he's got listed there is that, and they're sort of on price order. So 171.3. We've talked about him before, and obviously a lot of these players we have, so I won't repeat myself there too much. But Ruben Gimby at West Coast. What's your thoughts on Ruben?
Yep. Start up, pick him. He'll be playing every game, barring injury or suspension. he looked really good during the practice matches, running through the midfield, and his disposal, he's clean with the ball, knows how to find it. We have done a shout-out to him in the past where we believe if it wasn't for Marcus Ashcroft, or Will Ashcroft, sorry, that's his dad, he would win Rookie of the Year, but this guy looks a gun, so he'll play a lot.
Yeah. Do you know how many times I've said Marcus Ashcroft? It's you and me showing my age, but it also shows how good of a player he was. And I think a lot more people will be saying Will Ashcroft for the next 10, 20, 30 years after. I think he's going to be an even better player, and that's saying something. Yeah, Ruben Gimmy's a lock for me. Throw away the key. He's sitting in that sort of D5, D6 spot for sure. And I think he's going to rack you up some points and rack you up some dollars. We move on to two Brisbane players. We'll put them together. So this is one of those rookie priced players, and is Connor McKenna. So our esteemed tripod co-host mixed him up with brother of Conor McGregor. But there's Connor McKenna and then Darcy Wilmot at 123.9. What's your thoughts on the two Lions, mate?
Yeah, I'm picking Wilmot. Watched him pretty closely at the end of last year, and his performances in the finals where he was picked for Brisbane make me believe that he's going to be an integral part of their game plan and their structures moving forward. Not so sure about Conor McKenna yet. Now I've got the Justin syndrome.
Yeah, he's embedded.
Yeah, I can't see him playing a really good Supercoach friendly role with Brisbane, given the amount of run and carry they've got coming out of the back line, and they're ball winners all over the ground. So Wilmot playing on a wing, I think he will play, and he will play a lot. As for McKenna, yeah, I don't have him in.
Yeah, total agreement. I don't think there's too much you and I are going to disagree on this one. I feel like this is not a debate episode today. This is an absolute information session to everyone. So I'm not going to double up too much. Totally agree. McKenna's a watch this space, and a Wilmot is in for me. As we move on to 123.9, been a lot of talk about this player. I think his ownership percentage started high, dropped off really quickly, and is picked straight back up again after the preseason games. And that's Charlie Constable, who is also a DPP mid. Yeah.
Again, he looks really good alongside Ben Long in our Gold Coast backline. I won't go into it too much because we have in the past, but a proven ball winner even when he was at Geelong, just didn't get much of a chance given the depth they have there. Lackluster year last year, but really came on towards the back end of the year. Played backline with them in their twos and really racked it up. And I expect him to take the next step and play a pretty good role with pretty good Supercoach friendly role with Gold Coast this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's showing now his scoring and his job security is at a nice position enough for you to put him in there for round one. Campbell Chesser, West Coast, 123.9 as well. He does have the sort of little injury tag hanging over him at the moment. Where's he sitting with you?
Yeah, he's still 50-50 for me. There's been a bit of talk about him in the preseason that they're going to try and roll with him, try and get games into him because he is pretty highly rated in Perth or with the West Coast Eagles. I watched that game with Adelaide and West Coast pretty closely, and he looked a little bit out of his depth. So that's going to be right up until a last-second call for me. If it was right now, with the way my side is at the moment, he's not in.
Yeah, see, for me, I agree with everything you're saying, but for me, he's one of those who I feel confident is going to play at some time and sometime soon. So therefore, he's probably one of those ones that I could risk just putting on my bench at the moment rather than just bringing in someone who I think's just got to call up for round one and where they're going to sit. So
what's the news over in Perth with him? Like, do they believe that he's part of the long-term plan with West Coast?
I think, yeah, absolutely. You don't pick a draft pick in that area and where he's going to sit. So I think he's definitely in their plans. I think the interesting thing comes down to, do they win or lose the first few of their games? And therefore, what are the decisions you make? Look, they've got some older bodies in that team where they think they can still be successful. I don't think they can. And I think they're a couple of injuries away from having an absolute diabolical season where you just go, bugger it, we've really got to rebuild and readjust our assessment of this list. I think they made a massive assessment of their list wrong a couple of years ago, and it's probably put them in the place that they are now, and that's just my opinion. But I think on paper they look great. I think I've said it to you before. They're sometimes trapped in that we've got all the names still from our 2018 Premiership side, so it makes the side look better than it actually is. But we'll see. I think if they have everybody fit, which is a massive what if and a massive if, soft tissue injuries, once they pop up, all about them, mate. So once they pop up, they don't go away. So I can't see them staying fit all year. If they do, I think it's a reasonable team, but I I think he comes in, and I think he comes in as soon as he's fit and ready to go.
Good.
Young at Richmond has been a late call-up, and it looks like he's going to have a round one debut. So he's definitely someone that's probably going to see in the list named on Wednesday. What do you know, and where does he sit with you?
Yeah, I didn't know too much until a friend of ours, Damien Carroll on Twitter, brought him up and said, have a look at this guy. He's going to debut for Richmond. I'm like, okay, let's have a look. And went back and watched his highlights packaged and watched him a bit in game, and he looks good. Like 6'3", 6'4", backman, maybe a little bit taller. Looks quite poised with the ball. And I think he could very well carve out a role in the Richmond back six with the way he looks. So at 102K, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, 102K. It's if you're playing a couple of games, you're sitting in that side, and you hope you get a little bit of cash early. And you go
Allen
from there.
needs to average 60 for the first 3 games, and he makes you $120,000, $130,000.
Cha-ching. Exactly. It's exactly what you want. So speaking, good segue, Mickie Dell. You must have a little bit of an idea of what my possible list is. Speaking of Damien Carroll, loves his Carlton, and I've got 2 Carlton boys, one being Sincotta and the other one being Cowan. Now we know announced today, or I should say Monday, this will probably drop on Tuesday, Cowan and Hollands have both been told that they will be playing their debut, which means Sincotta will not be getting picked, or he would have been on the phone call, I would assume, as well, unless it's a late kind of change. Yeah. So where does that sit for you in regards to Cowan and Sincotta at Carlton? Yeah,
so with Hollands, he looks good, and I believe he'll be not a bad point scorer. I just can't get him in at the moment with the way my team's structured. I've got Cowan sitting in my back line, and I'll still hold on to Sincotta, given that he's the 2's best and fairest winner from last year. They've obviously brought him up on the senior list, gave him a taste of senior footy in the pre-season and did pretty well. I think it's only a matter of time before he does get a game, and whether that is a specific injury or whether that's form-related with some players that are already in the senior side. But, yeah, going forward, I see Sincotta or Chincotta for the Europeans out there. He'll come into the side.
Yeah, I think he could become one of those tactical sub-type players, but as you said, at 102,000 as well, he's only got to play and get some reasonable scores here and there. And it'd be intriguing to see how this tactical sub is used, and when they come in, I think it's very different to a emergency sub or a concussion sub or whatever they're doing. So it'd be interesting when they use them and how much they kind of start to average with their gameplay. Good, we move on. Wait, actually, no, we don't. Do you have any other defenders that we should be looking at? Anyone else on your list, mate?
I don't think so. No, I think you've ticked off all of them.
Well, big shout out to It's a Rayman. That was his list, but yeah, most of them are all on my list as well. And yeah, I don't think there's anyone missing there. So we move on to the midfielders. I think this is an easy one. We'll start with these 2 because we've already talked about one of them, which is Will Ashcroft at 202,000, and the other one is Cam McKenzie at Hawthorn at 180.36. Where do the 2 of them sit for you, my friend?
Both in. Watch them both. They're both, to me, look like 200, 250 game senior footballers at their prospective clubs. Both look really good with ball in hand. Both use the ball well. Both pretty good Supercoach friendly roles and cheap. You know, you could compare Ashcroft to like a Tanner Bruhn. Like, they do pretty much the same thing. They're both in.
Where are they sitting for you? For me, I'm taking a bit more of a chance on them now. So I've posted many a time now on Twitter at @RobK_FS for fantasy sport. Then I don't feel enough people are putting enough money into their back line. So I've gone 3 primos in my back line and moved Yo to D4, which I think in a way is a pod type move for me. Mm-hmm. So therefore I've moved Ashcroft and McKenzie are actually in that M6, M7. And then I'm looking who that M8 might be. It might be an Oscar Baker who will sort of get there in a little bit. But someone like that who I still have confidence will score reasonably for me. Where do they sit for you? Are they 7, 8 or are they up the scale a little bit?
They are 7 and 8 for me, yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, I think most people will do that. I've had to sort of just put a bit of money somewhere else, and I've decided to put it in my back line and still my forward line. So therefore I've had to take a little bit more risk in my mids. We move on. So he's got McLean next at 178.9. We know that he's a forward and most people are there. We know he was one of the highest percentage owned until the pesky preseason came along for people to start panicking. Do many onomatopoeia type things today. But where's McLean sitting for you now, mate?
Yeah, he's in. Yeah, don't panic with preseason stuff. He's played, over 100 senior games. He's been up in their best and fairest previously. He knows how to score points. It's a pre-season game. Some people go bull at a gate, like Errol Goulden, as we've spoken about earlier. He'll never score that high again, and quite comfortable in saying that. But with Toby McLean, he scored 30. Yeah, he had a lot of time on ground, but I went back and watched that again. I've had a lot of spare time on my hands, ladies and gentlemen. He was just looking to get through the game. Like, he did nothing flashy. He was sort of dancing around packs, a little bit scared to get his hands dirty, but in practice matches, why do you need to? Like, if his direction was just to get through the game unscathed and you picked round one, why would you put your nose over the pill when you know you're going to get smashed? So he's still in.
Yeah, it's a money issue for me now. Now it's become, we'll do a team reveal closer to round one, but it's a money issue for me. But if I had the cash, he'd be probably sitting on my bench at the moment, but I would love to have him in. We move on. We'll put the two St Kilda guys together. So you got Filippo and Bytel. Now, you've talked about Bytel as a bit of a little sleepy, a little smoky. The two of them, they're both quite high priced. So you got 166.8 and 158. I saw a post today of St Kilda's injury list. It is huge.
They're both
so do you expect them both to play, and where do you have them? Are they in your team?
No, they're not in my team, but I expect that they're both going to play. Yes. St Kilda's injury list is already 10, 12 deep. And when you're talking about a list that's, you got 42 or 44 plus rookies on your list, that means St Kilda have only got the best part of 30 players to choose from round one. So, if they're half decent or they've got the runs on the board, i.e. Bytel playing well in that practice match, they'll be straight in. And Filippo, he's very, very highly regarded. You've heard Ross Lyon talk about him previously. He'll play as many games as he can manage this year.
Beautiful. So the other one we did just mention him before is Hollins, who we know is getting a debut at that 162. So I expect to see his percentage rise.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask the question to you then, because I feel this will be a question that people will have to come towards. When you look at a Filippo who's got a quite high percentage and he's at that 166, and then now people have realised this Hollins is going to get picked at 162. I could see people only being able to do the sideways move and maybe picking one of them. Who are you taking out of Hollins and Filippo?
Filippo every day of the week.
There you go. You've heard it here first from Mickie Dell. He's the stat man. I back him in 100%. So there you go. So don't do a panic round oneer. I have heard good things about Holland, as you said. If you got the money, go for it. But you heard it here first. Grab Filippo over Hollins. So these two are a lock in my side. One is on the field at the moment and one is on the bench. I kind of maybe gave one away, but I'm intrigued to see if you had to bench one and play one, who would it be? Is Phillips and Baker. So Phillips at the 158.3 and Baker now at the role at the Western Bulldogs at 123.9.
Yeah, I'm playing Baker and I'm benching Phillips if I had to choose. Baker's role looks so super coach friendly with the Western Bulldogs, playing out on a wing. Played really well in that practice match. And we spoke earlier in this podcast about some people just playing through a practice match in order to get through a practice match and some people that need to prove a point in order to play round one. Oscar Baker, obviously coming in from Melbourne, has to prove a point, wants to be in the round one side, and he did his chances no harm. So, and another podcast we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, he was mic'd up during training. You don't mic people up at training if they're going to be a twos player. So for me, you lock him away. He's my M8 at the moment. He'll play.
Beautiful. And the only other one, are both of them in your team?
Phillips isn't, no.
Why's that? I've got Phillips on my bench. I still rate his role that he's going to play.
Yeah, money. For me, it was between Cam McKenzie and Phillips.
Yep.
And I see McKenzie.
Every day of the week.
Yep.
Every day of the week. Yep. Yeah, I think McKenzie's shown way too much promise. So if it comes down to that, absolutely. Absolutely. One more here that I'll mention, and then I'll open it up to you if anything we've forgotten, is Alwyn Davey. Is it Alwyn? Yes. Yeah, Alwyn Davey Jr. Obviously can be a forward DPP. He's sitting on my forward bench at the moment, especially at that 117. It's just too great. Where does he sit for you, mate, being a Bombers man yourself?
Yeah, he's in my team. So I've tossed up between Ridley, Davey and Setterfield. For me, they're the only three Essendon players you look at picking this year. Like, I think Nick Martin's going to have a great year, but Supercoach-wise, I just don't know whether he's going to peak out. Davey, for sure. Like, he may only average a 60, 65 each week, but with him, Tip and Woody, Menzie, they're your three pests that Essendon are going to be rolling with in their forward line, alongside Phillips, Stringer, Wright, Wiedemann, the bigs. So, like with Stringer being that third tall and with your mosquito fleet, so to speak, I think that the forward pressure, the tackles and the goals is where he's going to score most of his points. But he showed an ability in the practice matches, windy as what it was against St Kilda, to be able to push up the ground and use the ball well.
So you mentioned 3 Bombers players there. So I got given a friendly sledge on Twitter, which I encourage. Actually, yeah, no, I did. It was on Twitter. I've got Zach Merritt at the moment sitting in my M2.
Yeah.
I think he's just a consistent performer. So you're not a fan. You've named 3 others. You didn't mention your new captain of all players. Yep. You don't think he's Supercoach worthy?
He relevant? He is to a degree, but other people around his price range will score better. Yeah.
Okay. I've been told that I should downgrade price-wise to a Josh Kelly and enjoy the ride is what I've been told. And I don't think it's a bad shout. So I'll see how I go.
Yeah, just as long as Josh Kelly's hamstrings stay intact.
Mate, I feel tight just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But we move on, mate. Are we missing any mids, mate? Are we missing any other you want to add to the list?
No, I don't think so. I think you've ticked off on most of what I had here as well. So, yep, pretty right to move on.
So the 3 rucks are pretty straightforward. I'm just going to throw them all out there and see where your thoughts are on all 3. We're not going to play marry, date, and sleep with. We're marry, date, or shoot, or whatever it is. It's been a long time since I played that game. Yeah, but we've got 3 here for you, mate. Asava Radigalia, Mick Andrews, and we know the greatest loophole possible player of all time, unless somehow he gets named in Madden. Where do the 3 sit for you, my friend?
Madden sit in R3. I did a bit of research on McAndrew because people are like, you've got to pick him. I'm going to give you first crack at guessing. Guess what he averaged in the VFL last year?
I'm going to say he averaged 42.
29.
Wow.
Why would you put someone in an R3 that's going to average 29 that's going to wreck your loophole? You don't do it.
Mate, I think Laddams is back anyway, isn't he?
Laddams is
this
back.
This was only the hype. This was only hype because 2 players were out. Hickey was out. Laddams was out, and he's a chance to play, so you try and grab some cash. I think I even said to you myself, I said, mate, Laddams might be only out for 1, but he looks like he's already back. So, yeah, I'm spot on. You take you take Madden every day of the week. Absolutely, and just play the loophole role for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And Radigalia, where's your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, he's a watch for me. It all depends on Hawkins, believe it or not, with that team.
No, 100%.
If Hawkins is out 3 or 4 weeks and they played De Koning forward, then Radigalia is going to be that floating backman that's going to take the intercept possessions, the intercept marks, that sort of jazz. If we're looking at Hawkins and Cameron being back earlier and Radigalia being relegated to a third tall in the forward line or just a ruckman, running through, giving a chop out to Stanley or whoever else is rucking for them, the point scoring is not going to be great. So when you're looking at 178K for Asava, and you're looking at money that you could spend elsewhere on like a Mackenzie or who else have we got there? The North Melbourne bloke.
Sheasel.
We'll
get there. Let's not ruin the rookie list of the boys, but you're spot on. Yeah, and you mean Menzie, not Mackenzie. Menzie. Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, you're spot on. Just be aware, and mate, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the main reason he might actually go back, though, isn't Henry injured? Isn't that why he's possibly going back? I think Henry's out for a while. I think he looks pretty locked for that back line. I think you're right in what you're saying about the Hawkins factor. So I think for people out there, if they are looking to do that quick in, quick out, he's a good little mix. And I know a lot of people are starting to do I need him for backup. And it's one that I had him locked in since day one to be that backup. But I've had to just look at cash now and go, you know what? I got to run the risk. And if my ruck gets injured, I've got trades and money up my sleeve this year. So it's a different Supercoach. It's a very different Supercoach. So all good. We move into the forwards. So let's start with him. We kicked him off. He's the most expensive one there. Sheasel at 198.3K. Nothing but good things to say about this man. Where does he? I mean, surely he's a lock in your team.
Yes, he is. Went back, watched some film. Just his clean ball use and very Supercoach friendly role. So he started forward, kicked a couple of goals, went back, used the ball well, running out of defence. He'll be quite a good point scorer this year. So for me, I'll be looking to hold on to him until the bye rounds and then hopefully upgrade into a primo.
Yeah, I reckon he's moving both ends of the ground. I think Clarko will move him everywhere, and I think he's shown a lot of class very early on. This is an interesting one. So Ben King, obviously back from injury, so he's priced at 176.3. A lot of people just doing the, he's going to play. Let's get some cash, similar to an Oscar Allen. And let's throw these three in together. So you got Ben King, Josh Bruce, and Oscar Allen. Where do those sort of three sit? Is it a money thing? If you've got the money, would you put them in? Or what's your thoughts around that kind of play and strategy? So
no, and no. Josh Bruce, he'll be a lockdown back. Liam Jones will play that Supercoach friendly role. Oscar Allen, he'll be asked to do too much. He'll be thrown around everywhere at West Coast, especially if Nat Nui's no good. And Ben King, you just don't pick key forwards. Gold Coast, we've all seen in the middle of winter, it gets humid, it gets really wet up there. The ball's that slippery. He might go for 100 one day and then 20 the next. So if you're willing to go that roller coaster to make that sort of money, go right ahead. But you heard it here first. Don't pick your key forwards because, they might be good and they might kick 5, but they might only have 5 touches for the game. They still might only end up with 70 Supercoach points. So, I'm not big on picking players who I know pretty much 100% I'm going to drop them, or I don't really want them in my side, because you never know what happens injury-wise and things like that, where you get stuck, and all of a sudden you get stuck with somebody who's not making the cash that they could have, and they peak out, and then before you know it, their break-even is above what they're scoring, and they actually start losing cash. That's right. I'd steer clear. I think there's an option there. If somebody really wants to go the play, I don't mind it, but I wouldn't stack your team with too many of those. Yeah. I'm just picking them because I know they play. So I'll put it to you just before you do. Yeah, go. This topic. Ben King, you could spend 70K more and get Sam Flanders. Yeah, it's a great shout. Who's the other one? You've got Ben King. Who are the Oscar Allen? There's Jameson, I believe, at 260K, and he's going to play ruck a lot, especially if Nat Nui goes down. And then Josh Bruce at 160K. You spend an extra 50K, and you got Liam Jones, who's going to play that really Supercoach friendly role. So, be smart with your money. Yep. No, good shout. We drive on. Pedler at Adelaide, 173.4. What's the word? Haven't heard much. At 173K, you'd want to hear a lot of buzz, and just haven't. So while I do believe he's going to play, and he is built fairly well, I had a bit of look at tape from the practice match, and he is a solidly built lad, but Supercoach-wise, he might score you 60 or 70 points per week, which, again, it'll make you some money, but when we're talking about money better spent elsewhere, you can definitely do better. Yeah, perfect. One of your boys, we touched on him really briefly before, is Menzies from Essendon. Where he's higher price at that 154. All I've heard is the word tackles. I'm assuming that's what he does. He's part of the Mosquito fleet, so it'll be him, Tippin, Woody, and Davey. That'll be the forward pressure at Essendon. As a supporter, I'm really excited to see it. From a Supercoach point of view, it's just so hit and miss because of the way that forward lines structure up and their areas that they're going to cover. They might not see the ball for a quarter and a half, so they might score 40 points in the first quarter, still be on 40 points in the third quarter. So, again, if you're willing to ride that wave with small forwards like that, go nuts. I am a fan of him as a football supporter, but from a Supercoach point of view, again, money well spent elsewhere. Again, spend 30K extra and get Sheasel. Yeah, fair point. Fergus Green, we know he's one of your country lads who have a lot of time for him, praise a lot. His ownership percentage has gone right up, I think, with some of the injuries that Hawthorn have to the likes of Mitch Lewis, who'll be out for a while. I think it's pretty clear this guy's going to play. And I think he'll score all right. So he's sitting on my bench at the moment, but a lot of people even have him sitting in that F6 spot at the moment. Where's he sitting on your team? Yeah, he's sitting on my bench as well. Something that I guess makes me happy, and as well as yourself, is we gave him a shout out in January when we first started covering AFL Supercoach, saying that this is a bloke that you need to watch and that he will play games for Hawthorn this year. And sure enough, he'll be playing round one. And you know what? If he plays well, he could be playing all year. He might not be a massive Supercoach scorer, but he'll be that slow burn. He will make you money, and you will be able to, 150, 200K out of him. and then you move on from him, hopefully into a primo.
Beautiful. And I'm going to finish up with two Freo players to finish, one being Sam Sturt and the other one being Liam Henry. Now, I've said a lot about Liam Henry for anyone who's listening along. Liam Henry's at that 200K and pushing up to that wing. From everything I've heard, there's rumours that one of the coaches possibly came out and said Ethan Hughes might take that wing.
Right.
But I'm thinking, I'm still liking where Liam Henry sits in a good spot. From what I'm hearing about Sturt, though, Sturt is not in their best 22. If everyone is fit, he's not in their best 22 and will be fighting for a position every single week. For me, that's not enough job security to take that chance. So I wouldn't panic and just pop him in just because he might play round one. For me, I'm hearing he's in their squad and always a guy that will get a look in. But for me, I'm not hearing that he's in their best 22. Where do the two Dockers line up for you, mate?
Yep, same as you. They're not in my side. I'll ask you about two other Dockers players, given that you may have some inside information for our viewers at home that are listening and hopefully have liked and subscribed to us.
Yeah.
Johnson, is there any chance that he'll play? And also, how far off's Wagner?
Yeah, so, mate, they're very similar answers to Sturt from what I know.
Okay.
Wouldn't be shocked if they get named somewhere. I don't think Wagner's ready to go just yet. Again, I don't think either one of them is in their best 22. We're talking about a team that I don't think gets enough credit for really tightly being in a premiership window here. Peter Sumich over here has started possibly doing a write-up. I know he's been signed up to do a write-up at the West Australian. He's already come out and said, I think Treacy and Amiss should be their key forwards ahead of Taberner. And I get what he's trying to say in the way of going, put all your eggs in one basket to these young boys, give them the games, get them ready and win that premiership in the next few years. Taberner's probably, I think he's still underrated.
Yeah,
the guy was averaging over 2 goals a game when he was fit. I think you've got to have Taberner in that side as the focal point and then put the others around. Now, if Treacy or Amiss are ready to go, one of them gets the pick. And as I said, if they can get games, great. But to me, Johnson, they like him and rate him from everything that I've heard, but that's a tough side to get into right now. But I think he'll crack a game at some point, and I think Wagner might be the same. But I don't know how consistently they hold their spot. But from everything I hear, Johnson is the one they really, really rate. It's just where and when does he get a game, and does he hold his spot in what's a tough team to get a game this year? Yeah,
for sure. And just two more that I'll shout out to that people perhaps are looking at. Orazio Fantasia from Port Adelaide. G'day, BT, if you're listening in, mate. Don't touch him. His hamstrings, they're cooked. He'll play 2 good games and then he'll go missing, so don't pick him. And one that not many people have brought up, and he's still at 0% ownership, Brent Daniels from GWS. So he's at 193K. Did some research. He got up around 400K in value a couple of years ago. He was out all year last year. He appears a certain starter for GWS round one. For me, it's a watch this space and could be a downgrade target. If he's averaging your 80, 85 through the first couple of rounds, which I anticipate he could do, he's that small high half forward. He'll play. We've spoken previously about that high half forward playing as an extra on baller. If he plays that role, he could nearly make his way in the side.
Mickie Dell, he knows how to attract some comments. It's another, we had a little bit of Ruben Gimby possibly winning the Rising Star coming through. Mate, if Daniels is averaging 80 to 85, I'll eat my hat. But it's not a bad shout. He has shown that potential before, so it's a really good shout out for people to go and have a look. Mate, absolute pleasure. I don't want to put you on the spot. I think people get enough there. I was going to ask you who are your 5 must-have rookies, but I think people have got enough information from that one to really work it out.
Yeah.
It's very clear. The shorter we were on the answers, the more they'll lock them away. But again, a big shout out. I think I said it's a Rayman. It's actually It's the Rayman. So at It's the Rayman, go and follow him on Twitter. We thank him for this list and this idea. I think it's a really good idea. I think I encourage people to go and have a look at this list, write it down, start to have a look at the round ones, but don't panic as you come to round one. Mickie Dell, before I sign off, do you have any final words for everybody as this is the final countdown?
Yeah, don't panic. Get your eggs in a row. Don't just go on pre-season form. Go back, have a look, at our prior podcast. We've thrown out some stats. We've thrown out some numbers. we'll be going live or coming up with a couple more episodes before round 1. So please tune in. We're going to give our teams out. So we're not hiding behind any smoke and mirrors. We're going to be out for the public to see. So you can see that the information that we're giving out to everyone is there and readily available for everyone to read, copy, do what you will with it.
Guys, we're going to bring absolutely non-stop content between now and round 1, and that is obviously going to continue on within the season. Make sure you click subscribe. Fantastic producer will probably put a button there or just make me look really stupid as I point down towards nothing. But they do a great job. But, guys, don't panic. Build your teams. Enjoy your Supercoach. Join along. We're going to give you as many team reveals and strategies and ideas as you could possibly have before we get to that round 1 component. Guys, thanks again. Mickie Dell, appreciate your time. No doubt we'll be seeing you in the studio soon. This has been the Molten Fantasy Sport Podcast. Peace out.
See ya.